Hello, ladies and gentlemen, loyal Imperial citizens and rebel scum alike, and welcome to another Liam Aiden gameplay video. Back with more Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes today, where we're going to be taking a look at some of the most underrated early characters in Galaxy of Heroes. Characters that generally are overlooked, but that you might not want to sleep on, and maybe should consider farming and adding to your squad. So, in order for a character to be on this list, well, first of all, they had to be available in the early part of the game. That means they had to be farmable from a node in the first 3 levels of light or dark side battles, or in the first 2 levels of Cantina battles. Or they could be available in some of the more accessible store locations, so the Cantina Battle Store, the Squad Arena Store, or the Galactic War Store. Those credits are all readily available at the beginning of the game, but I excluded stores with the harder to get credits, so you're not going to see the Fleet Store or the Guild Store in here, just for example. Now the other thing is, of course, they had to be underrated or overlooked characters, so you're not going to see any Phoenix in here, since they're widely acknowledged as one of the best early squads to go for. Doesn't mean you shouldn't farm them, just means they're not underrated. But who is? Now, in no particular order, let's take a look at the list. Starting us off at number 6 is Luminara Unduli. Luminara is often overlooked as just another Jedi healer, and while it's true that she does have Jedi healing abilities, more on that in a moment, I don't think it's fair to say that she's completely interchangeable with Jedi Consular, for example. There's a lot more to her. To begin with, she has a leadership ability, Elegant Steps, which, when maxed out, gives Jedi allies 15% evasion and automatic health regain at the beginning of each of their turns, which I think makes Luminara a great possibility to lead your early Jedi squad when you're going after that Grand Master Yoda legendary event. He's going to be one of your first legendary unlocks, and Luminara Unduli is well worth considering as one of those early leaders to farm. Now, her attacks are very similar to the Jedi Consulars, especially the attack with the lightsaber, but her Force Blast is capable of dealing much more damage than the Consular's attack by defense, and is really worth maxing out. I'm actually using Luminara right now not as a leader, but just as a member of my kind of second tier Jedi squad, so even in late stage of the game, that Force Blast still packs a punch. Her healing ability too, I think, is much more impressive than Jedi Consulars, giving you 45% of Luminara Unduli's max health, plus a 20% health regain at the beginning of your next 2 turns. Add to that the fact that you can get Luminara shards in 3 locations. She's available to farm Dark Side Hard Node 2E, Light Side Hard Node 3D, and she appears in the Galactic War Shipment Store. 400 Galactic War tokens, crystals, whatever they are, gives you 5 shards for her. Now, once you get good at completing the Galactic War, you can get 1,200 of those tokens a day, which means you could get 15 shards of Luminara a day, or 5 shards of 3 different characters a day. This makes Luminara one of the easiest characters to get in the game, and a great addition to your early squad. Number 5 is Clone Wars Chewie. Now, this version of Chewie is one of the first characters that were given free as new players to the game, so he normally functions as people's introduction to what a tank is in Galaxy of Heroes, and then I think that's about it. Most people find better tanks, better units, and they just kind of move on, and poor old Clone Wars Chewie sits there neglected. No more, I say. He is an overlooked character, and he has real utility. Now, Clone Wars Chewie is definitely a tank, and the most use you're going to get out of him is going to be in his 2 abilities, Wookiee Rage and Defiant Roar. Wookiee Rage is his taunt, which also gives him health up for 2 turns, while Defiant Roar is an excellent bonus, only becomes available later on as you upgrade. Basically, it dispels all debuffs from Clone Wars Chewie. He recovers 50% of his max health and gains defense up for 3 turns, and has a 50% chance to gain 25% turn meter. Now, to get all those stats, Defiant Roar does require a Zeta, and although I love Clone Wars Chewie and I do think he's an underrated character, I'm not sure he's really worth investing that Zeta in. That said, I think he's an all-round, really excellent tank for the beginning of the game. He also has Wookiee Resolve, which is his leadership ability, giving allies a ton of extra defense defense, especially when they're damaged, and he even has utility at the mid to late game stages as well. I'm currently using him on my Padme Amidala squad, kind of as a stand-in for General Kenobi, whom I still haven't unlocked there. So investing in Clone Wars Chewbacca at the beginning of the game, not only do you get a good early tank, but you're also going to see those upgrades paying dividends later in the game. Now, Clone Wars Chewie is also available in 3 locations: Light Side, Node 3E, Dark Side, Node 2C, and Cantina Battles, Node 1C. Now, of those 3 options, Cantina is definitely the place to farm him. Cantina nodes generally more profitable than hard nodes. Number 4 is Clone Sergeant. Now, Clone Sergeant is another one of those beginning of the game freebies, and much like Clone Wars Chewbacca, I think he often gets overlooked in favor of fancier units. In this case, some of his fancier clone brethren, Cody, and then members of the 501st. But just like Chewie, he has great utility later in the game. For those of you who watched my recent arena video, you will have seen him as part of my clone squad, the clone squad that took down Emphas Nest. So really, Clone Sergeant is not to be underestimated and makes an excellent addition to your light side squad, whether it's clone oriented or otherwise. He comes equipped with a powerful attack and an impressive AoE, and gets increased critical chance for each living clone ally, as well as critical chance up and critical damage and offense up whenever he critically hits an enemy. I am always calling on this guy to support when I'm attacking with Echo or Fives, anyone who can call in another clone to attack out of turn, and he really does some great damage. Clone Sergeant is also the first entry on our list to have his own ship, Clone Sergeant's ARC-170. Not a great ship, but a ship nonetheless. So that means that as you're powering this guy up, you're also powering up a pilot for one of your ships, enhancing the strength of your fleet. Now, Clone Sergeant is also available in 2 locations early: Dark Side Battles 1B and Dark Side Battles 3E, so a little bit harder to farm than Chewie and Luminara, but it's worth remembering that later on he will become available in Light Side Battles 5E, and you'll be able to get him from guild shipments as well for 450 of the guild currency. Number 3, halfway through this list now, is Royal Guard. Royal Guard is another tank and the first dark side entry on this list. He's one of those characters that has a very high drop rate from the Bronzium data cards that you're going to be opening on a daily basis, so you're very likely to get him very early on in the game. Like the other entries on this list, many players tend to shun Royal Guard after some of the other characters become available that can replace him, in this case Empire characters. And while it's true that Royal Guard maybe doesn't pack as much of a punch as some of the other characters that you'd be able to replace him with, TIE Fighter Pilot, Tarkin, and so on, definitely has his uses. Not least of which is his stun, which accompanies his basic attack with an 80% chance of success. That's huge. He's a real pain to go up against, especially in the early stages of the game, but that makes him a real boon for your squad. Royal Guard also has the special abilities Imperial Phalanx and Unyielding Defender. Phalanx giving him and allies defense up for 2 turns and health up, and Unyielding Defender giving him an auto taunt whenever an ally takes damage that turn and falls below 50% health. All these abilities make Royal Guard a really great choice for your early Empire squad, and I'd suggest using him to unlock R2-D2, again one of those early legendary characters you're going to want to go after. Now, Royal Guard also has a ship. As you can see, it's not one that I've unlocked. By all accounts, not a great ship. He does need Palpatine in order to make it work, and because it's a double up, I guess that gives the potential of actually having quite a high crew power. I wouldn't necessarily recommend going after this ship, maybe if you really want to max out your Imperial squadron, but otherwise it's maybe not worth it, especially because it is a hard farm. Royal Guard himself is available on Light Side 1D, and later on he does become available on Dark Side 5F. Now that does make him a little bit of a trickier farm, but bear in mind that he does have a high drop rate from the Bronzium cards, and he will become available later on in the guild store too. All in all, he's really worth investing in early in the game, even if only for that stun. Second place on the list is Cad Bane, a bounty hunter with a lot to offer, especially at the beginning of the game, where good dark side characters can be a little hard to come by. Now, I feel Cad Bane is often underrated when compared to some of the other bounty hunters out there, especially a lot of the newer Mandalorian content that we've been getting in the game recently. But if you take a closer look, Bane is definitely worth your time. From his basic attack, Gunslinger, with a 65% chance to attack again, to his Stun Glove attack, which not only stuns the enemy but also deals physical damage. He's a powerful early attacker with a bounty hunter leadership ability and a potent payout, which gives him 25% evasion and inflicts thermal detonators for 2 turns on any enemy that's attacked, and that can't be evaded. What's more, Bane also has a ship, and gasp shock horror, it's a good one, with lots of evasion and the capability to deliver powerful AoEs to the enemy fleet. All of this adds up to Cad Bane being a great addition to your early dark side squad, especially since he can also be found in the Galactic War Store right next to Luminara. He's therefore one of the easiest characters to get in the early stages of the game. And now, number 1, the final place on our early underrated characters list goes to Qui-Gon Jinn. Now, I said the characters on this list were presented in no particular order, and that's true, although I do personally have something of a soft spot for Qui-Gon, both in terms of the canon, the movies, but also in the game too. I just think he's a really cool Jedi and a really cool character, and if you're not farming him early on, I really think you're making a mistake. Here's why. From his basic attack, Quick Strike, which not only has a chance to give him extra turn meter, but also to remove turn meter from the enemy, to his special, Harmonious Assault, which deals special damage and calls an ally to assist, increasing the damage they deal by 75%, plus giving them health. Qui-Gon Jinn is an excellent support for your team. Plus his second special, Humbling Blow, not only deals damage to the enemy, but removes all positive status effects and gains allies offense up for 3 turns. This guy is no joke. Qui-Gon is seriously packing and is a major addition to all Jedi teams, not just early ones. I currently use him in my best lineup right now with Jedi Knight Revan, and he still puts out a ton of damage, mostly because of that ability to call in another ally. That's a pretty common mechanic within Galaxy of Heroes, but often when that extra ally is called in, they're dealing less damage, not more. 75% extra damage is just a beast. Plus, if you are building your early Jedi team, maybe to go after that Grand Master Yoda legendary event, perhaps you're even using Luminara Unduli, consider putting Qui-Gon on that team. That extra damage output is really going to make the difference for you. In fact, why not consider making Qui-Gon the lead? Yes, Qui-Gon has a leadership ability, agility training, and as early Jedi leadership abilities go, it's perhaps even better than Luminara's, giving Jedi allies plus 30 speed, plus offensive equal to 3 times their speed, and foresight for 2 turns at the start of any encounter. That speed addition alone is huge, and if for no other reason, I think that should earn Qui-Gon Jinn a spot on this list right here. Just to make it even sweeter though, Qui-Gon shards can be acquired through the Cantina Battle Store. 400 credits for 5 shards, and as a 25 shard 2-star unlock, that means you can get Qui-Gon Jinn really quickly. So what are you waiting for? There you go, that's it. That is my countdown of the top underrated early characters for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. But what do you think? Who would be on your list? Do you agree or disagree with any of my choices? I would love to hear your thoughts, comments, and criticisms down below. Please leave them in the comments section. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, found it entertaining in any way, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. I drop regular Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes and Marvel Strike Force videos every week. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey. That's all for Liam Aiden Gameplay today. Be good to each other. And remember, the Force will be with you, always.